And so there was this article that recently came out that Mont Tremblant next year is going to have the most slots for women.
Hmm.
Let's say they're going to have, I think, like 100 slots. And this past year, there were only close to about 300 women who finished. So that would mean, up to a third to a half of the women who finished Mont Tremblant this past year would have gotten a slot to Kona. So everyone, when everyone, those people who are trying to qualify, one of the smart things to do is to look at certain races, qualifying races, and to see who's giving away the more slots, to see what kind of times you have to go, to, obviously what time of year the race is, if you can afford to go. There's a lot of logistics involved in choosing to do an Ironman. So that brought up the topic, and Katie from our T2 Endurance group wanted me to comment about it.
So the article is the Ironman recently announced this dramatic expansion of the women's field for 2023 in Kona. So they have an additional day of racing dedicated to the women's field. There will be an additional 1,200 qualifying spots for the race on the Big Island through the Women for Try initiative, which was started or founded in 2015. With that number, they say if, how's it go? Based on this year's numbers, as many as 42% of the women's field at Ironman Mont Tremblant could qualify for Kona. 42%, whereas just 4.5% of the men could, which is fine. That's just how it works out. Here are other numbers here, or details. It says this year there will be 287 women's finishers in Mont Tremblant. There would be 120 expected slots at the event in 2023. 8 age group mandatory, 12 allocated for the 100 women for try. So 120 divided by 287 is 42% of the women. In terms of percentages, after the race, the next best chance to earn a qualifying spot for Kona, if you're a woman, will be Lake Placid, just over 19% of the women there. Arizona, 19% of the women there. Chattanooga, almost 19%. Ironman Coeur d'Alene, almost 18.5% based on this analysis. So if you want to and want to start training now and sign up for those are your best chances. I love it. I love getting more and more people involved. And I wasn't aware of the Women for Try initiative. They were given a grant a few years back, $250,000 in grant funding to get this thing going to help increase female participation at all levels of triathlon. It's exciting.
Yeah, and I think it's a great initiative, and I'm all for, and I've said this my whole life, everyone should get a chance to compete on the Big Island because it's just an amazing experience. And so I'm all for, athletes given the chance to compete on the Big Island. And I also think if they want to grow the sport and have athletes be able to compete on the Big Island, they might consider just opening up the Hawaiian Ironman as a regular Ironman and just open up registration like they do all other Ironmans.
Well, just to make it
Is
a regular
also one of
Ironman
my
versus
thoughts.
a world
And
championship.
just, yes.
Wouldn't
And
that take away from the
the
health
reason
specialties?
I say that, the reason I say that is they're giving, they're not, again, I'm using the word giving away
Yeah.
loosely. They're not giving away slots, but they are including more slots for women to qualify. And, just like the 73 point world championships last year in St. George, people were turning them down, and you could get 50th place in your age group and get a qualifying slot to the 70.3 world championships, which to me doesn't make it a world championship with the elite of the elite, the top 2 or 3 or 4 people in your age group. If you're going to a race and they're giving away 100 women for try slots and you're the top 100 female in your age group and you get a slot, I think it's awesome. You get to compete. But at the same time, I think it lowers the level of a world championship.
Kind of waters it down in a way.
Yeah. But again, this was my initial thoughts on the article, and just based on my experience of racing, it becomes, I really want to qualify, but it's super expensive. You know, if you want to get your best chance to go to Mont Tremblant, that's an expensive travel and venue to compete at. And then you get your slot, and then it's really expensive to travel and compete at the Ironman World Championships in Kona.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just a lot of thoughts that go through my mind. And I will always still say, if you have the opportunity, don't pass it up. Go for sure.
There's never been a better time to be a woman in the Ironman triathlon world. And if you want to compete and participate in Kona, never better time than right now, especially having a day finally dedicated to all women, and then with more slots available and all these races available. So if you want to get it off your bucket list, don't want to do the Ironman Legacy program, if that's what it's called, this is a way to earn it legitimately because more opportunities available.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and there we go. They used to have a lottery. Do you remember the lottery?
I remember that, and they had to, it was deemed illegal. They had to stop that because people had to pay to be in the lottery, and you weren't guaranteed a slot. And then if you did get the slot, you had to pay for the slot.
Right.
So they were double dipping in a way, and it just wasn't right.